Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. This is MJ, aka MJ of All Trades, and I'm here today to finally talk to you guys thoroughly about modeling. Yes, I'm finally here to talk about modeling. I've been wanting to talk about modeling for months now, along with like music and stuff. I kept, other things I needed to discuss, music, blah, blah, and I kept saying, you need to discuss your modeling career. You need to discuss your modeling career. That's where you started. So, excuse me, guys. I'm still recovering from COVID. So anyway, yes, guys, I think that modeling is really how, I got in the industry at all, ever. Like, I started modeling at 16 years old at a really, 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 really young age. Before I get into this, you guys, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And let's get into the video. So, again, I started modeling at 16 years old. I have done all kinds of modeling, from runway modeling, catalogs, photo shoots, lots of hair modeling, beauty, all kinds of stuff you can think of. I've been in countless runway shows. I've been in catalogs. Like I said, the list can go on. I modeled for lots of designers, lots of stylists, etc. So I've done lots of cool things in modeling. I did recently did a big beauty campaign with Sephora. I've done lots of, like I said, hair modeling. I modeled for Benmark International. That's in Los Angeles years ago. I was one of their catalog models a lot. I could go on and on. I got signed to Auto Models in Los Angeles, but I'll get all into that, how I even got to that part. Ah, man, it's almost like it was God sent for me. So when I was, funny story, when I was 8 years old, I was in a little church in Mississippi with my family. This is a great story. And, we were in church, whatever, church service in the evening. And this pastor is prophesying over people. Spiritual people know what prophecy is. We'll get into that in a whole other video if you don't know what it means. But this pastor was prophesying on everyone, and he pointed at me. I was 8 years old. He pointed at me and told me to stand up. I stood up. I remember what I had on this night, which is crazy. I was 8. Okay? I'm in my 30s now. I was 8. So my memory, certain things you remember as a kid that like really meant something to you, that was one of those times, I guess. I remember how my hair was, and I remember what I had on, a cute little pink floral jacket I loved so much. But anyway, so I was down in Mississippi. My parents are both from Mississippi, so we were visiting my dad's side of the family, and this pastor told me to stand up, and he started prophesying all these things about me, that you're going to grow up and you're going to be very beautiful and you're going to be a model and you're going to be successful. And I never forgot what this man told me. I probably forgot some of it, but what stood out the most to me was that I was going to be very successful, beautiful, and a model. At that time, at 8 years old, you don't know what none of this stuff really means. I really didn't know what a model meant. If you asked me then what I wanted to be, which is very, very funny, I always said I wanted to be a school teacher. Had no idea what the hell, because baby, you asked me to teach something now, as far as children goes, I don't have anything to do with kids. Like, nothing. Like, my career is so far from, like, children, it's ridiculous. But anyway, so, man, I feel like I got a lash in my eye. I'm about to rub my makeup off on my hands. Anyway, so I'm at this church, and this guy, he's like, you're going to be, it just prophesying over my life and what I was going to be when I grew up. And I was just like, wow, like, what's a model, So I went home that night with, we were staying with my auntie at the time, and we went to her house, and everyone was just kind of discussing it with me, and, and I was just kind of like zoned out, like, I don't really know what that means, but that sounds cool. I was aware that I was young. Like, I was aware I was just a kid. So I knew that by a person telling me to stand up that didn't know me at 8 years old, like I knew that it was a powerful thing. He didn't just tell me I was going to be a model and beautiful, but you know, prophesying about my life and how I was going to succeed and all these things. And I was just like, whoa, like this is really powerful. I knew at 8 years old how powerful that was. So as time went on, as the years went by, I'm not sure exactly how old I was when I started to look into modeling, probably more so towards my teens. And I think it's because so many people kept telling me that I should be a model. I cannot tell y'all how many times in my life people were like, you should be a model. It was like a daily thing almost. Like when I would go to a gas station, anywhere with my parents, church, like everyone was like, you really need to be on a runway. Like seriously. So it got to the point where when I was in my young teens that I started to kind of look into it, I guess, and do a little research. So yeah, at around 16, I remember I was 16 when I went to the model search. I guess this is where it kind of started. I was in high school. I was a sophomore in high school, and my I'm not sure how we heard about this model search. I don't know if I was researching online. I presented it to my parents, and I was like, there's a model search in Chicago, and I, really think that we should go. Like, I think this could be a good opportunity. Long story short, my parents decided, yeah, let's go to Chicago. Let's get you some pictures taken. I think I took some photos. I'm sure I brought some photos with me. Let's get you some pictures taken. When I tell you my parents went all out, excused me from school, wrote a note to them, everything. It was like, she's going to go be a model. So me and my parents, we went to Chicago. And like thinking back on this meant so much to me because when I tell you my dad wasn't gung ho on modeling just yet. I'm gonna tell you that story. But my mom was all for it. She was like, "Yeah, let's go." But my dad, he came with us and everything. Like it was a really, really, really nice experience. It was fun. I remember shopping down Michigan Avenue with my parents. 16 years old. Like I really used to enjoy my parents' company. I used to go to movies with my parents. I used to go to eat with my parents. All kinds of stuff. So. Mind you, like at this age, I'm really not sure what to do. At 16, I was playing basketball in high school. Like I was an athlete. Like I played basketball all the way from like fourth grade to like high school. I think by the time I was a sophomore, I quit. And I was like, I'm tired of running up and down the court. I'm tired of sweating. I want to get my nails done. Like I don't want to do this. So I just was like, I'm over this. So the basketball thing, I think by this time was done with for me. Okay, so back to Chicago. So we were in Chicago and it was a model search. I think it was called back then, Model Search of America. But anyway, it was one of those where modeling agents see you and they decide to sign you, blah, 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 or if you get a call back. So I went, and at the time, I didn't get any callbacks from any agencies, which is somewhat normal, which is crazy. Like you see so many models and you see these people and they just, they sign who they want to sign. So at the time, I came back home with no callback. So once I got back home, I got a call from a local modeling agency, which I'm going to talk about. At the time, I'm not even going to say the name of the agency, but at the time, I think some of the experience I gained was good, but it ended up kind of being for me and my parents. So I got a call from the agency in St. Louis, and I ended up going and signing with this agency in St. Louis. I'll get all into that eventually, but the process was not the proper process at the time. Again, I was 16 and I was new to the agency. My mom was new to the agency. And even though I was signed to them, I did book jobs through them. It wasn't the way to go. And I'm going to break all that down to y'all eventually on what happened to me in the modeling industry, why that was not the way to go. And, my story on that. But at the time, it turned out okay. It makes me emotional to think back to this time because my mom was so supportive of me and literally was like breaking her back and her leg to try to get me on, like putting up money that she didn't have so I could make it. Like I will never forget those days, you know. That meant a lot to me. So anyway, I got signed to the agency and I started booking modeling gigs in again when I was in St. Louis at 16. Promotional modeling, you know, all kinds of stuff here locally. I learned how to do photo shoots. I learned a lot from them. I learned how to walk a runway, and I never forgot. I learned how to walk a runway. I used to take runway classes with them. My dad used to faithfully drop me off. All this makes me emotional to think about how my parents like really supported me back then. But my dad used to drop me off some of my runway classes, and so let me kind of break down the story to y'all on what happened with my dad and what made him fall in love with the thought of modeling for me. So this is not something he wanted me to do at all. He was not a fan of none of that. He didn't really understand what it was. Once I was signed to the agency, one day he brought me, I think he brought me to my first read, because I was acting too and stuff. So he brought me to my first read where I had to read a monologue. And I think it was an audition. I was auditioning for someone, but the parents sat in the room with us. And when my dad, that was my first time ever reading a monologue. The reaction of my father after I read that monologue, it was just so unforgettable. He was like, "I'm so proud of you." He took me outside. He was like, "I'm so proud of you. I didn't even know you could do that." Like I changed my voice and everything. He just didn't even know I could like do all this. He was like, "I didn't even know you could do that. Like, I'm so proud of you. I support you now 100%. I didn't know this is what it was." So pretty much I was able to win him over on accident because me and my mom was just kind of going through. It's like, you'll eventually, you know, we'll get into it. But once he saw me audition that first time and read that monologue, he was so proud of me. And he was just like, I'm so excited. So he was on board 100% dropping me off to my photo shoots, to my gigs that I will book, all kinds of stuff. So I think one of my most memorable times as a model, eventually I ended up moving to LA. I was eventually signed to Auto Models. It was one of the biggest agencies in the US, in Los Angeles. Very well known. Once before I got signed to them, I was freelancing. I'm pretty much like hustling. People know how it is when you come to LA. I was like trying to get signed, going to open calls. And one of my biggest memories was flying to Chicago to the Ebony and Jet headquarters to meet Eunice Johnson in person to model for Fashion Fair. And they flew me there first class, y'all. This is my first time flying first class. My first time. And I was the only model to fly first class. I will never forget this experience because I kept asking everybody. I was talking about my experience in first class. And none of the models knew what I was talking about. They was like, "Well, how did you get in first class?" I was like, "They flew me first class." Like, crazy. So, anyway, yes, Ebony Jet Magazine flew me out there. I got to go to their headquarters, meet Eunice Johnson. I was so looking forward to going on tour with them and being one of the Fashion Fair models. Okay, let me tell you what happened. So, at the time... So Chicago market, LA market, I don't know how it is now, but it was really different back then. Midwest is all about the straight hair, the perms, the long weaves for black girls. So this is my real hair now, but this would have been like everything for them. In LA, it was all about the edge, you know. We had wavy hair, beachy waves, wigs, whatever. I didn't wear wigs, but I had on like a half wig. I think like a quick weave. That's what it's called. But so anyway, I auditioned for them. It's like an all-day process. Come to find out, no, I remember we were supposed to fly back and the weather was so bad. We were supposed to fly in and out. But the weather got so bad, they put us in hotels. And we ended up staying in Chicago for like a whole 24, 48 hours. I made some friends with these girls. We had an amazing time, most memorable time ever. We were, you know, another time being in Chicago, up and down Michigan Avenue, just like having the time of my life in a hotel room. It was the funnest thing in the world. Like, when I tell you all the opportunities that God has given me and the people I've met, like, I'm just so grateful. in my life to be able to look back on these experiences and tell people about it. If I ever have kids, I don't know if that's going to happen, but maybe I can tell my kids about it, or, just help other people. But anyway, so once we finally get to Eunice, the final day, and they announce who they want, I was not chosen. But it was like, when I tell y'all, this was so heartbreaking to me because it was like promising. I had already talked to, the head model when I got off the plane. She was like, oh yeah, girl, they're going to choose you off the bat. This has happened to me so many times in my life. I'll be pulled to the side by one of the reps, and then I come in and my main judges, they be like, It's happened to me in high school with cheerleading too, by the way. Anyway, so I was just so broken. I was like, I didn't understand. She pulls me to the side. The rep does, not Eunice. Rest in peace. But I was so heated. I was mad for a long time at Eunice Johnson. I was like, I don't understand. So I was pulled to the side, and the girl tells me she didn't like your hair. I said, what? She was like, it was your hair. I said, do you know I can take this off? I said, you know how much hair I got under here? I was so pissed. I was like, that is not what it was. Are y'all kidding me? Like, these girls you chose? Like, oh, I was pissed. I was like, are you serious? I was like, but I can take this off. This is a weave. My hair doesn't even look like this. This is a beach wave. Like, I thought y'all would like it. It's the only reason I wore my hair like that in Chicago, because it was like so huge in LA. So I thought they would love it in Chicago. Child, I should have permed my hair and wore my hair straight in Chicago. So Eunice Johnson didn't like my hair, so I flew back in tears the entire flight, to the point where the guy next to me hands me a tissue because I was snotting so bad. And I was trying to hide it, but I was heartbroken, y'all. Like, it's so many times in this industry that things are going to happen and you are going to be like, it's so much rejection. It's so many blessings, but it's also rejection. You just have to learn. So at that time, I was like maybe 20, 21. It was just heartbreaking because I had set in stone. I had just had such a good time with those girls. They flew me first class. And again, I had it set in my mind that I was about to be on tour with Fashion Fair models. But probably best that I never did go, just based off of things I heard about the tour. But anyway, it was a great experience. And, who gets to ever say that they were in the headquarters of Ebony and Jet and actually talked to and met and hugged Eunice Johnson? Like, that was nice, even though she said she didn't like my hair. Like, it was just cool to have that experience. What the modeling industry is like. The modeling industry, like I said, can be cutthroat. It was never really too bad of a cutthroat for me. Like, to be honest, people was like always so stuck on like bigger models or like being super skinny, and that models have. Child, I used to eat. Let me tell you about me and the other models though. Like, I never experienced like the eating disorder things. I hear about it, but like, I've been on so many shoots and stuff with different models and stuff, and all of us was eating. I don't remember nobody starving. I know I was eating. Like, and I think for most models, like for myself, it was a metabolism thing. Y'all was like 130 pounds for a long time, and I was eating when I wanted to. Like, now I'm, not got meat on my bones. I mean, I'm still pretty slim, but like, I had to just lose 20 pounds. Like, but I'm not ever about to be 130 pounds again in my life. Like, let's be real, unless I'm sick. So, I mean, we talking like, y'all, like, I used to be, and it's what's funny is I was one of the bigger models. I was what you would consider one of the thicker models. I think my measurements were 34, 25, 36, and that probably was a lie. I think it was a 25 and a half, 36 and a half. I'm not sure we was rounding up or down, because I remember my mom measuring me. But those were my measures for a long time. And 36-inch hips was like the max for a runway model for years. Things have totally changed, y'all. In 2023, modeling is nothing like it used to be. And I'm grateful for that. You would never, ever, back when I was a model, catch these thick models on the runway. I love seeing it now. I love it. But like back then, I was one of the thicker girls. But because I was so tall and stretched out, they never measured me. They never questioned my measurements. Because after a while, I started to lie. Like, once I got out of high school and got to college, and then I finally got signed to a big agency, I I think I still was telling people my hips was 36, 37. My hips had probably was near 40 inches at that time. I mean, I was still, when I look back, I was still a very skinny girl. I was still slim, but I always had this little shape. I always had some kind of hips. So according to their measurements, but that's what, that was not my story. They never measured me. No one ever told me I was too heavy until later. Somebody tried to tell me I was too bottom heavy. And when I tell you, it never bothered me, because the it's a whole nother a long story, child. That was my last modeling agent, actually, in my 30s. She told me that I was bottom heavy and I was shaped like Barbie. And I was like, oh, I'm supposed to be mad I'm shaped like Barbie? I don't understand. Like, yeah. But anyway, so that never bothered me. I always had love for myself. You got to have self-love if you in anything in the entertainment industry, modeling, acting, whatever, because folks will try to eat you alive. So yeah. But I loved it. It was like, I used to, book jobs, you get your hair done. I mean, it is what you see. Sometimes it's not, of course, not always glitz and glam, but it definitely is what you see. You get free stuff, you get your hair done, you get free clothes. You have to be, if you're a runway model, you gotta be naked a lot backstage in front of people. I got used to that real quick. Like, I saw people now, like, when I'm on my singing gigs and stuff, we used to have to change clothes sometimes. I used to be like, with no problem, not realizing that there were men in the room. Just be like, oh yeah, huh? Because I was a model, and that's just something we did. And you just don't care. You don't look at it as a sexual thing when you're a model. You always see each other naked. It just is what it is. One thing that I began to, as I got older, especially now, sometimes I don't really care to be like a full-time. I'm not a full-time model anymore. I don't really care for it, because I kind of want my freedom. I want, call me if I book something, or call me if somebody, I still go on like casting calls and stuff. It's really important, or it's like good money involved. But like, your looks don't belong to you as a model. And that's like a big thing, that if you want to be a model, you have to understand that. Like, my nails being long and red right now, when I tell you I had to cut my nails completely down and have like plain nails all the time, because of, you don't know what the client's going to want when you go to an audition or go see. That was annoying to me. I had to wear my hair the same all the time. It's probably the same with acting. Acting, your hair has to look the same as your headshot, when you're auditioning. That shit is annoying. Like, especially, they were really stricter on models. You had to look like a Z card. Like, I couldn't color my hair. I had to tell them, you have to tell these people if you color your hair, if you want to cut your hair, if you want to put a long weave in, you want to go curly. Us black girls, we do all kinds of stuff. So I never really looked like my Z card a lot. When I would go to these auditions, they'd be like, oh, I like your hair here in the picture. And I'd be like, oh, okay, well, the hair's not like that today. Like, that it can be annoying, because it's almost like your look belongs to someone else. Like, your look belongs to your agent. Your look belongs to who you work for. That's annoying, because I love me some nails. I love doing my hair whatever way I want to do my hair. Like, I don't want my looks to belong to someone else. Like, recently when I moved to St. Louis, I dyed my hair blonde, I think like the first week I moved into my apartment. And it was so out of the blue. And people were like, oh my God, like, my best friend was like, you really did? I was like, I just felt free. I was able to do something without like having to put a track in my head. Like, I was able to dye my hair blonde finally. I always wanted to go blonde, I would put like blonde braids in, take it out, my hair is black. I spray the roots gold because I got the weave in. But like, I just had blonde hair and I loved it. But I'm back to my natural color because I love my natural color better. But it just felt good, because I felt stuck, to be honest. Like, I felt stuck for a long time, having to just do what everyone told me to do. And if I go to an audition or have a photo shoot, I have to tell them like, oh, you could take these nails off if it's a big deal. Or, I did not like that. I'm gonna be honest. Like, modeling is cool, but if you don't mind walking around looking like Billy, if like, I didn't want to look like, I don't want to walk around plain. I'm not a plain Jane, like, I'm not a plain Jane. I didn't want to have to like walk around with. I've been getting my nails done like since I was 16 years old. I've had a job since I was 16 outside of modeling. And I was getting my nails. I was paying for myself to get my nails. So like this is something I'm kind of high maintenance. Like I like to look good. Like lashes I couldn't have on my. I don't even wear like long crazy lashes, but I love me a nice mink lash. Like I just like looking good. And I don't want to have to be dry faced, dry nailed, bald head nails all the time because I'm a model. That was annoying to me. So your looks don't belong to you if you want to be a model. So the biggest modeling job I ever had was in one of the biggest. I think the second the biggest was the job that I had in Cancun, Mexico. I had booked this huge job and it was just great. This was after I was signed to Auto Models in Los Angeles. It took me, by the way, 3 years, I think. Moved to LA at 20. I was signed at 23. So that's how much I was like, it took a while, but I was like hustling and I went to an open call. Let me tell this story. I walked into an open call and, most of the time, if the people don't want you to just say no, they'll just say no, just say no. Like if a lot of you know Tyra Banks' story, you know this. She tells you, everybody told her no except for one person. She was signed, now she's a millionaire. So, you're going to get told no when you go into these open calls. You got to keep going. You got to keep going. You got to go to the other agency. If LA Models told you no, you got to go to Wilhelmina. Wilhelmina told you no, you got to go to New. If New told you no, you got to go over to Auto. If Auto told you no, you got to go over to, this one over here, Vision. Like all these different agencies, I would go in every time they had open calls and you present your book or, let them take a picture. They'll ask you to walk. So this one particular agency, Auto Models, shout out to Auto, Jason, Auto, and Teresa. I walked in and instead of him telling me no, he gave me a business card. He said, I like the way you look. He said, maybe come back. I said, okay. Never forgot. 6 months later, I walked back in there and I was like, hi, you gave me a business card 6 months ago. You told me to come back and I'm here to be signed. And they signed me and I worked with them. And the biggest job I booked with them was the Cancun modeling job, the modeling job in Cancun, Mexico. It was a hair model. I was the only black model out of 40 white models. That's the thing about modeling too. You're going to be like, if you're African-American child, that was one of the things. Like I said, times have changed a little, but back then I was only black, everything, everywhere, all the time. I'm talking modeling, school, everything, work. I was like, modeling, you was only black girl a lot. So yeah, I was only black model out of 40 models. It was one girl, but she wasn't, she was like mixed. So I guess we kind of look similar, I guess, but pretty much she was like me and her if she was black. I don't know if she was black. She spoke Spanish, but only black model pretty much. Only fully African-American model. And that was amazing to me. I was there for, I think, 7 days in my 20s. Great job, man. But one thing that I remember specifically is that my foundation was this color. And I was pissed. I remember going to the bathroom, having a breakdown before the main runway show. Because all week long was like consultations leading up into the big runway show. And I just remember being pissed off and the other white models couldn't understand this little girl. Who I was called her a female dog. But she was just like, I just don't understand. Like, if I look back now, I would have gave her a whole piece of my mind. Like, girl, I wouldn't expect for you to understand. Like, you're not... Some of those girls were just... I remember her specifically because to me, it's just like, why are you butting in my business? If I'm coming in here, I'm redoing my makeup, that got nothing to do with you. All these foundations in here match you. These foundations don't match me. So if I want to come in here and have a breakdown, I have a breakdown. So I had to go in the bathroom, redo my makeup, redo my I didn't redo everything, but I had to kind of do my face. I looked like casket sharp, like I was walking dead. And I was pissed that day. I was like, oh, absolutely not. So yeah, I went in the bathroom, redid my makeup. And that blonde haired model had the nerve, child. Like, and I was actually well behaved on that trip. I will never forget. The people who hired us called me in a meeting one day. This is a true story, y'all. Called me in a meeting. This is how I know no matter what people have ever tried to throw at me in the music industry, modeling industry, anything in this industry, I always know I'm professional. Don't ever try to come for me. You try to come for me, there's something in you, because I don't ever disturb people. I'm very professional. These people, out of 40 models, pulled me in a room, and I thought I was in trouble because we were supposed to be doing like hair consultations, but they were like supposed to be over. I don't know. I don't know what we were doing that day, but they pulled me in a room and they were like, we just want to tell you, no, they said, we just want to say thank you. And I said, what do you mean? And she was like, we just want to say thank you. Like, out of all these models, you're the most professional one. I will never forget them telling me that. And I was the only black one. I will never forget that. Nobody can ever tell me who I am. That's why I'm telling you, people try to come for me, you're only hating on me. That's what it's ever been. Because I'm professional as hell on these jobs. And people who hired me love me. Like, if you don't, that's like, something wrong with you. It ain't me. Anyway, so, that was one of the, greatest memories I had in modeling. Also, when I spoke on like times changing, you see these tattoos? When I tell you models now are so tatted, that's why I just said forget it. I could not have no tattoos back then. I got all these tattoos like within the past maybe 6-7 years. I've gotten these tattoos. A lot of like all these been like the past year. Like I've always wanted tattoos, but I was a model. And it was just like a no-no back then. Like even when I was going somewhere and I would see one model with one on her wrist, it was just like, oh, she has a tattoo. Like, child, models I be seeing so many working, booked models with like crazy tattoos. But now, when I have my auditions or something and I know this is gonna show, I know how to cover this up now with makeup. But now because I got lazy with the makeup and I'm just like, look, I just cover it up if I have like an audition or something. But I know how to cover it up completely where you don't see it at all. So yeah, all this used to be blank probably like a year ago, actually. This is blank, but I just, I'm like, I want to live my life. So I'm like, these models got tattoos now, these actors and stuff, like, if they want to book me and if it's God's will for me to have something or have a job, that's just how I look at it, then it's going to happen. That's just how I look at life now. So, and also like something else I used to do is like, it got to the point where, I pretty much, since I was 16 on up, really till now, on and off, or maybe like, yeah, like maybe up until like now, a couple years ago, I've been modeling out really since then. So that's like pretty much half all my life. Almost. And so imagine, like, I have a fashion degree, I've gone to college, I've done all this, so all these fashion companies I worked for, if they needed a model, guess who was the model? Like, I would step in to be the model if the model didn't show up. But when I tell you, it was a good time because it was a period in my life where I stopped modeling. I was like, I just want to be on the other side, and that was fun for me. I loved casting for models and being the one to tug and pull on their clothes and not having to be the one in front of the camera. It was being in front of the camera is a lot of pressure. To be quite honest, if I can tell y'all, and I know people follow me on Instagram or know me all my life, and all my pictures I take, I hate photo shoots. I've always hated photo shoots. And I was a working model, y'all. Like, I've always hated photo shoots. I remember my catalog shoots would only be like 4 hours long. And I would be in there ready to go. Like, I'm like, but 4 hours, that was nothing. As far as my, I don't know what it was, but to this day, I do not like a photo shoot. Hurry up. I'm gonna lay down. I don't like being taking pictures in front of, which is crazy. Crazy, I know. I love taking pictures, I guess, when I'm taking pictures of me, but like when I'm working with a photographer, it's just not something I enjoy. I don't know why. Yeah. But I used to, step in and model for the companies that I worked for a lot if they needed. That's just, I think a lot of times, I talked about this in one of my fashion videos, that I think I got hired a lot because I was a model, to be honest. I really, really do. I used to get hired on the spot. Oh, America's Next Top Model. I almost made America's Next Top Model. I got discovered on MySpace once, and I know, MySpace, right? One of the casting directors cast me. I think I auditioned for America's Next Top Model 2 or 3 times. And this was my only time ever making it almost to the first episode. So I made it so far this time. Once the casting director scouted me on MySpace, it was like, you should, come to this audition. I was like, whoa. I've had a lot of almost in my life, y'all, I'm telling you. So something's going to happen because I've had them almost like crazy. But I went to the audition and I made every round except for the last round to make it to the first episode. So never really was disappointed by America's Next Top Model not making it there. I was like, this process was so long and annoying. It was like the American Idol of modeling. So imagine what those auditions were like cattle calls. It was crazy. I watched America's Next Top Model up until a certain season. I stopped watching after a while because there was just some things that I couldn't get with. And, I'm sure if I made it to the show, it would have been something that, God would have made a way for me. But when I look at the show and look at some of the things and kind of how the girls were treated in some of their stories, I was like, I stopped watching it, I think after season 5. Sometimes now when I'm bored, because I stream everything, I go back and rewatch some of the stuff. Like, oh, this is funny. But yeah, so that's pretty much a little rundown of my life in the modeling industry. But yeah, if you guys stay tuned to my channel, I'm going to give you guys step by step on how I got into the business, more elaborated on that and my experience and things about the business that I think you should know. I'm going to talk about how to get signed to a modeling agency, how not to get scammed like I did at one point. Lots of people get scammed all the time. And I get a lot of questions on, should I do this? Should I do that? My son wants to model. My daughter wants to model. I want to be a model. What do I do? I'm going to break that down for y'all. So you guys stay tuned. But that was just my life in the modeling industry. Some of it. So thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.